بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وعلى أصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. We'll start the lessons of Fara'id today. Fara'id basically means the shares of the heirs and the inheritance. The knowledge of inheritance or the field of inheritance in which a person learns the Islamic laws which are related to the matter of inheritance is known as the field of Fara'id. That is the special name which was given to this field by the scholars of this field. You write Fara'id in this way. This is how you write Fara'id. This is what we're going to study today, inshallah. There are many verses related to this matter. However, if you study these verses which are related to fara'id or the laws of inheritance, you will find that this is a unique law, or this is a unique system of law which was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As there is no likeness for these laws in the cultures, civilizations, in the laws which were before Islam. It was created as a unique field of knowledge revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The uniqueness of this field is that, unlike to other doctrines and faiths and religions and ruling systems, in this system, males and females both were given rights. This was the thing which made it unique, based on the responsibilities which binds on the individuals within a family. Based on those responsibilities, the shares were made and were divided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who deserve them. In Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or we can say that Islam prescribed many different ways to circulate the properties, to circulate the money. Islam doesn't like that money should be with one person in one place, confined in one place, and it's not circulating in the market. This is disliked in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hashr, كَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't want the wealth to be dula. That dula means that the only wealthy ones are the ones who are possessing the wealth, and it's not circulating, it's not going to others. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't want that thing to happen. In order to break the concept of dula, that wealth should be in a single hand with some people only, and the others should be deprived from it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed many different things in order to circulate the wealth. Like what? Like zakat. Zakat causes the wealth to circulate. It goes from one person to another person. What else is there which was prescribed in Islam besides zakat for the wealth to circulate? Like the will, for example. A person can make a will, isn't it? Before his death, can make a will which could be within 1/3 of his property, not more than that. 1/3 of his property he can make a will. So this will allow the wealth to circulate in the community. And see, the Prophet ﷺ, when he speaks about the will, he says, La wasiyata liwarith. Who is a warith? A person who will inherit. So the Messenger ﷺ says that your will should not be designated for the warith, for the one who is already an heir, who is already getting a share from your inheritance. Means the will should go to someone outside the family. In case you want to make a will, make it for someone who's not an heir. If he is an heir, that means he will receive something from the inheritance itself. So why should you give him something additional? That may cause some problems within the ranks of the family. Yeah. So there are many things actually in Islam. If you see them, you have the voluntary charity as well. Zakat is the obligatory one. Besides this, you have the voluntary thing. This is to circulate the wealth. You have waqf, for example. You are allowed to assign something from your property as waqf. Keep something from your property as waqf. That the earnings which are coming from this property will go to so and so place, or so and so poor people, or to the orphanage, and so on. Like you have 10 buildings, let's say. One building is for the poor people. Whatever comes from this building will go for the poor people. And if you go to Mecca, you'll find many buildings which are under waqf. People don't know about them. Many buildings. From the time of the Ottomans, there are things which are under the waqf. And they are still functioning under the waqf. Whatever comes, it goes either for the Hujjaj, or for the travelers, sometimes for the seekers of knowledge, and so on and so forth. And one of the ways in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused the wealth to circulate is the laws of inheritance. In the laws of inheritance, a man when he dies, his inheritance is divided not only for the wife, not only for the husband, it goes to the parents, it might reach till the grandparents as well, it will go to the children, it will go to the brothers and sisters, even the maternal sisters and brothers. Means a person is having a mother, the mother was married to someone else before getting married to their father, and from that man the woman was having some children. Those children will become the maternal children of these people. Even the maternal brothers. The maternal brothers and sisters, they also deserve a share in the inheritance, as mentioned in Surah An-Nisa. So this is a thing which was prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to circulate the wealth, unlike to communism and capitalism. In capitalism, what may disturb a person when he finds the laws, or when he witnesses the laws which are there in capitalism, is that in capital system they allow a person to make a will that the whole property will go to his dog, for example, or the whole property will go to his cat, or the whole property will go to so and so whom he loves. This is not there in Islam. You cannot divide your property in your own way. You cannot do that. You have the right only to divide 1/3 of your property in your own way. The remaining will be divided according to the laws revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's giving you a freedom of 1/3 of your property. 2/3 you have no freedom, and then it will be distributed according to Allah's will. And we as Muslims, we believe that we have to submit ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We also believe that we have to submit our property and our wealth also to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise we are not Muslims. What is the meaning of a Muslim? Someone who submits. So we submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are ready to accept everything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why we distribute, or we divide our wealth according to Allah's will. But it was out of Allah's mercy that He allowed us, although the wealth belongs to Him, yet He is allowing us to divide 1/3 of our property according to our own desire. Related to inheritance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, verse number 7, لِلرِّجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ وَالْأَقْرَبُونَ مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا. This verse basically speaks about the inheritance, and that the inheritance will go to the males and the females. This was something very new in the Arab community, for humanity in general. People didn't know this kind of division before Islam, that men and women both are inheriting. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse, لِلْرِجَالِ نَصِيبٌ مِمَّا تَرَكَ الْوَالِدَانِ, that the men will have a share in that which was left by the parents and the close relatives. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِلنِّسَاءِ نَصِيبٌ, and even the women will have a nasib. They will have a share. In what? In that which was left by the parents and the close relatives. مِمَّا قَلَّ مِنْهُ أَوْ كَثُرَ. قَلَّ means little bit. Kathur means a large amount. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whether the left behind state or the left behind property or money was qal or kathur, means was little or large. In both cases, these people, the male and females in the family, will have the share from the property. That's why the males and females within a family, they should love each other, because if they die, they will leave the property for the others. This increases the love between them. It's not the love for them to die. It's love for them because their property will be a share, or they'll have a share in the property. There are certain rights. There are few rights, like 4 rights, which are considered to be rights in the wealth or the property of a person, the one who died. The deceased person, the one who died, there are few rights in his property, in his wealth. If these rights are executed, these rights are given to whom it belongs, then it's lawful to distribute the property. If these rights are not given to whom it belongs, then you cannot divide the property. Which are these rights? There are 3 rights which a people should fulfill before dividing any property. The first right is the right to arrange for the funeral of the man who died. Before arranging for his funeral, and you know that the funeral itself needs some expenses. In some places you need to buy the grave for the man. So there are expenses for this matter. You need to buy the shroud. You need to pay the expenses of the hospital if he died in the hospital. There are so many things, you know. You need to relieve the person by fulfilling the requirements, the documentations and so on. From the police, from the Awqaf, from different areas, you need some documentations. And you might be required to pay here and there. So to arrange for the funeral, a proper Islamic funeral, is the first right. And this right belongs to the man who died. And this should be executed, or this should be financed from the person's money, he himself. If he is leaving something behind him, the children should not say, this money belongs to us, khalas, no more, we will not arrange for anything for him, it belongs to, that's wrong. The first person who is having a right is the man, he himself who died. Make a proper janazah for him, make a proper funeral for him, and from his own. If this is done, then there are 2 more rights, which are still pending.
So if someone has like his sons, they say we want to arrange for the funeral, not from the property.
That's fine, that will be a charity, that will be a kindness, that's fine. We are speaking about the rights in the wealth of the man, he himself, if there are no others who are having enough sufficient money. Let's say, for example, a man died leaving behind children who are not working, maybe studying in the schools and universities. So they don't have other sources. So the only source is the wealth of the person, he himself, who died. So in that case, can the children say that the wealth or the property which he left belongs to us? We will not spend on him anymore. The government should do it, someone else? No. It is his wealth, and he is the first one who will deserve his rights from that wealth which was left behind by the man. For the woman, they say it is the husband who is responsible to carry the expenses. So the woman is, in reality, a man is rewarded for all the expenses which he carries for his children, for his family, and this is one of the ways in which a person gains his way towards Jannah. The second issue, which is also considered to be a right in the wealth of the man who died, is the matter of debts. If the man was under debt, if the man was under a loan, then before distributing the property, they should pay the loans to whom it belongs. And then after paying the loans, if there's something remaining, then they should pay the loans which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is meant by loans belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The zakat, or an oath which he made, for example, for which he didn't fulfill, so you have to feed some poor people for that. So those are the loans which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to pay those loans. So we have the first right in the property of a deceased is the matter of the funeral itself. The second right is the loans which belongs to other people, which he took from the people and he didn't pay them. You have to pay those people from the property of the man. In case the man was not having sufficient property, then the children, if they will pay it willingly, it will be a kindness to the parents or the man who died or the father, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless them and bless the children, inshallah, that the children's children will be good to the parents. So that will be a kindness from the parents' side or the brother's side or the relatives of the person who died. Because a person, if he dies being under debt, such a person is in a trouble in his grave. There was a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, which says that Jabir radiallahu anhu once invited the Prophet ﷺ to attend the funeral of or the people, in Medina, they invited the Prophet to attend a funeral. And when the Prophet ﷺ was informed that the man is having a loan of two dinars, the one who died is having 2 dinars as a loan. He didn't pay them. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't offer janazah. He said, you people offer janazah. I'll not offer janazah on this man. So this shows that it's a serious case. There are so many people who don't pay the loans. They just take loans from the people and they forget to pay them back. This is a harm which they are gaining. They are causing themselves to be punished in the graves. And then the Prophet ﷺ, one of the Sahaba came behind the Prophet, Abu Qatada, and said to the Messenger, O Messenger of Allah, the loan is on me, I'll pay them. Then the Prophet ﷺ accepted to offer janazah for him. After offering janazah, the second day, the Prophet ﷺ asked Abu Qatada, did you pay the loan? And he said, no, O Messenger of Allah. It's only one day, one day passed only, give me some more time, means. And after 2 days, the man said to the Prophet ﷺ that I paid the loan. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ana barudat alayhi jildatuh, that now his skin gained coolness. The coolness, the peace in the grave is gained now only, after paying the debt which was on the man. This is 2 dinar. And what if there are 2 million or 2,000 or 20 millions, that's a serious case. That's why one of the rights, after arranging for the janazah for the man, find out if there's any thing which you have to pay, go and pay those things to those people so that the man, gains some peace in his grave. The man is not in a trouble in his grave. After paying the loans, the third thing is to execute the will, to establish the will. If the man left a will, for example, that 1/3 of my property should go to the orphanage, or 1/3 should go to here and there, so that will be a will. That will come in the third place. You should always put the debts first and then they will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Nisa, من بعد وصية يوصين بها أو دين. من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين. Different verses are there. من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين. Verse number 11, Surah Al-Nisa. من بعد وصية means that wasiyah, that the will should be after dain, after the debt. You pay the loans first and then you execute the will. If you are done with the janazah, you are done with the debts, and you are done with the will, you did all those things, what is left will be for the heirs, for the inheritors. It is necessary to make a will. It's strongly recommended. The Prophet ﷺ said once to one of the companions that it is not lawful for a person who is having something which is worth, something for which there should be a will, except that his will should be ready before the passage of 2 days. If that thing is with you, 2 days should not pass except that your will is ready. Means you gained something, you bought something, you earned something which is worth, for which there should be an advice. It is not, this advice doesn't mean that you should instruct your people to how to divide it and how to calculate it and how to distribute it on the heirs. No, this is not meant. What is meant is to advise the heirs, not to fight upon it. And to advise the heirs that from this pay my loans here and there. This is the advice which you have to make on the property which you are having. And in case it's a family member in your family who's not good in his salah, for example, or is not good in something which is required in his akhlaq, for example, then you should make one of the points in your will should be that I instruct my so-and-so brother or sister or whoever there is in the family to be kind to others, or to have good morals, or to be mindful about his salah. And these instructions should be there. That will be your final instructions. You do those things, especially if you are responsible for them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not reckon you. He'll not take you into an account. So these things should be there in the will, and it becomes very, very, very important if there is someone who's under your charge, like your son, for example, who's under your charge and he is doing something, like maybe a son who doesn't pray, for example. You have to give him advice in your will. That will be your final advice, and the only thing which you can do actually is advise him. You cannot do more than that. If he accepts or he doesn't accept, you did your part actually, and the remaining is on him. So you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a state of peace. So making a will is an essential matter. We should not ignore this thing or belittle this matter. It's an important matter for which should be given its right.
So this
Yeah.
paying off zakat, once the person is died,
Yeah.
still zakat is only.
According to the majority, this is a right. This is a loan which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is a right which belongs to Allah because it is Allah who ordered you to pay the zakah. According to the majority, if a person died and in his wealth there is a loan which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has to pay them.
So how do you say that if you are doing Ramadan, or how do you calculate?
Yeah, you will calculate the zakat if the man died after completing one complete lunar year. If he didn't complete one complete lunar year, then there is no zakat on that property. After having a property, there should be one complete lunar year that you keep that property with you, and then only you will pay the zakat of that thing. In case the heirs, they didn't know about this matter, they didn't know about the zakat, then they are not accountable. And that's why it's necessary for a man so that he should write these things in his will, that my zakah was in so and so time and I didn't pay my zakah, or it will be in so and so time. If I die in a state in which I didn't pay my zakah, be mindful that you have to pay my zakah. Who will say these details? And these are like personal details. It is the man who's feeling that he's close to death that he should say these things in his will, so that the heirs, they are mindful about these matters. So how many things we mentioned? The first is for the janazah. They have to prepare for the expenses of the janazah. Is the first right in the property. The second right is to pay the debts, the loans. The third right is to pay the loans which belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fourth right is to execute the will, the bequest. Now let's say, for example, a person died. A person died leaving behind a will, okay, which is 1/3 of his property. And he also left behind him a son. How will you divide this man's property? He left behind him a son and a daughter. He left behind him a son, a daughter, and a will. How will you divide this man's property? First, the will. Divide the property into 3 parts. One part will go to the will. That's 1/3, isn't it? We said that the will should not be more than 1/3 of his property. How many thirds are remaining now? 2/3 are remaining. And how many people are there to share, to get the inheritance? There are 2 people, a son and a daughter. We said that a person left behind him 1 son and 1 daughter. And 1/3 of his property was given to the as his will. Okay. So the remaining property should be divided into 3 parts. Why 3 parts? The remaining after executing the property should be divided into 3 parts.
Because the son gets first.
Yeah, you have to divide it into 3 parts because you have to give the son 2 parts. And you give the daughter 1 part. This is how the inheritance is divided. This is how the property is divided between the daughters and between the sons. Whenever there is a daughter and there is a son, you count 1 son as 2 people. You count 1 son as if there are 2 people. If you have 2 children, 2 sons, 2 male children, then count them as 4. And if you have 1 female child, count it as 1. So if, let's say, for example, a man died leaving behind him 2 male children and 1 female. How much will you count these 2? We'll count them as 4. And this female will count her as 1 only. So altogether how many people we have? 5. So we'll divide the property into 5 different portions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each son will take 2 portions, and 1 portion will be given to the daughter. This is how you have to do. You have to calculate the property between the children, male and female. If you have 3 children, 3 male children, you will count them as 6 persons, 6 people, because you have to give every son 2 shares. And the female, let's say that there are 6 male children and 6 female children, big family. Okay. We'll count the 6 male children as 12 children, and the 6 female as 6 female only. So 6 and 12 altogether makes 18. Divide the inheritance into 18 portions, into 18 parts. Give each son 2 parts, 2 parts, 2 parts, and the daughters 1, 1, 1. And the ratio will be 2 to 1. Did you understand this? Okay, about the matter of wasiyya, or about the matter of will, the bequest, this hadith narrated by Ali radiallahu anhu, collected by Imam al-Tirmidhi, where the Prophet, or where Ali radiallahu anhu says, رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قضى بالدين قبل الوصية. رأيت رسول الله, I saw the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, قضى بالدين قبل الوصية, that he ordered that the debt should be paid before executing the will. Before making the will, before establishing the will, you have to pay the debts. This is what Ali radiallahu anhu learned from the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And how to divide the property? About this matter, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, ألحق الفرائض بأهلها فما بقي فلأولى رجل ذكر. Let me write down this thing here. See, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, ألحق الفرائض بأهلها فما بقي فلأولى رجل ذكر. This is a very famous hadith related to this matter, where the Prophet ﷺ basically says, أَلْحِقُ الْفَرَائِضَ بِأَهْلِهَا. Let the fara'id go to those who it belongs. Fara'id means the shares which are mentioned in the Quran. There are people who are mentioned in the Quran by names, that the mother will deserve 1/6, the father will deserve 1/3 or 1/6, the wife will deserve 1/4 or 1/8. There are people who are mentioned by name in the Quran. These are the ones who are meant by Dawul Furud. So Allah, the Messenger ﷺ says, أَلْحِقُ الْفَرَائِضَ بِأَهْلِهَا. Let the shares, let the inheritance go to those whom it belongs. فَمَا بَقِيَ. And that which will be left should go to the closest male member. If after executing the will and after giving the fara'id, the shares which are mentioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you give everything. After giving everything, there was still something which was left behind. Who will take the property? Who will take the remaining thing then? It is the closest male member in the family. Let's say, for example, a man died, leaving behind him a man died leaving behind him a daughter, for example, okay? And a mother, and a cousin, or an uncle. Daughter, mother, uncle. His property, if you give the property to whom it belongs, those who are mentioned in the Quran, still there will be a share which is left behind. That share will go to whom? It will go to the closest male member. Let me show you this thing. This will open your mind, inshallah. You have to drink lots of tea. This will make you feel that you're in a mathematics class. Let's say that a man died leaving behind him Okay? Means mother. And bint. Bint means a lovely daughter. And Amma doesn't mean Amma yatasa'alun. Am means uncle. Okay? Am means uncle. So you have this thing. Now in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the mother, the share of the mother. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also spoke about the share of the daughter. But Allah didn't mention anything about the am. Is he a close male member in the family or not? Definitely, he's a very close male member in the family. So these two are mentioned in the Quran. These two are mentioned in the Quran. So what will you do? You take the property, give the mother her share, give the daughter her share, and what's the remaining will go to whom? To the uncle, the closest male member who's there. What is the share of the mother in the Quran? 1/6. 1/6 is for the mother. What is the share of the daughter? Bint? If she's one daughter, half of the property. So she's very lucky. She's going to take half of the property. And there's one am as well. The remaining thing will go to the. This property should be divided into how many parts? Let me give you the options. The property is either divided into 2 parts, or 3 parts, 4 parts, or 6, or 8 sometimes, 12, 24. Now you have to choose. Into how many parts will divide this? You have 1/6 here for the mother. You have half for the daughter, and the remaining is for the uncle. So we'll divide this. If you divide this into 2 parts, can you give the mother a share? You cannot give. So you have to do what? Take the whole share, divide into 6 parts. This portion will go to the daughter. Half of the property will go to the daughter. And 1/6 will go to the poor mother. 1/6 only. What is remaining now? 2/6 are remaining. Isn't it? These 2/6 will go to the uncle. The cruel uncle is going to take 2 parts. Is it difficult?
Is the mother more closer?
Yeah, the mother is closer, but still her share is only 1/6. And this is because you may always find this, that the parents, they deserve less than the children. And in this case, because uncle is asaba, is a male member who is responsible for the family after the death of the father. So you have to spend on the family.
What if 2 uncles are?
2 uncles are there. If 2 uncles are there, then 1/6 for each uncle.
So that is paternal uncle?
The maternal uncles, they do not get any share. If the paternal uncles are there or the children are there, the maternal uncles will not get anything. So I think that this is easy. See, this is like half of the property. Half goes to the daughter. And 1/6 to the mother and 2/6 to the uncle.
Can
Yes.
someone drop out of inheritance? Like, I don't want it.
Can something?
Like, if the mother says, I don't want the inheritance.
Yeah, that's fine. If she doesn't want the inheritance,
Then it will be divided into.
into what?
How many parts of mother?
That 1/6 will go to the one whom the mother wills. If the mother says, I want my part go to the daughter, it will go. If the mother says, no, I want it to go to the uncle or anybody else, it's her property actually. She is having the complete right to give it to whomever she wills. You will need this book. If the book is not with you, you have to get this book. Yeah, and I can give you this book, inshallah. You can make copies for yourself, inshallah. Next class, inshallah. Make copies for yourself from here and give it back to me immediately. Okay? Or in case some friends of you are having the same book,
So which book is this?
this is the book of Islamic Inheritance Rules, General Rules and Shares. Yeah, you can make copies for your friends, inshallah. We'll come to those details, inshallah. We'll take every single person of the family separately. We'll take the mother separately and we will discuss the mother, how much she will deserve when there are children, when there are no children, when the husband is there, when this is this. We'll discuss all the cases in which a mother may find herself, where she will deserve some part of the inheritance. We'll discuss all the cases of the daughters, in which the daughters they may deserve a share in the inheritance, and the cases in which they suffer exclusion. There are cases in which instead of getting one half, they get lesser than that. This is when they are male children as well, with the daughters. When you have sons and daughters together, then the daughters will not get half of the property. It will be divided to the ratio of 2 to 1 between the males and the females. The other cases when the daughters get 2/3. We'll discuss that case also. We'll come to the daughters and we'll discuss ahwalul banat or ahwalul bin, the cases of the daughter, the cases of the uncle, the cases of the father, the cases of the grandfather. All those things are discussed in this valuable book actually. We'll try to discuss all those things in the class as well. So start studying this book as soon as possible.
So is it the same if someone does not distribute the inheritance?
Yeah, I didn't get your question.
If someone does not distribute the inheritance, the sin is on him.
Yeah, if someone didn't distribute, this happens a lot,
So
especially amongst those who are ignorant. Somebody told me about before a few days that there was a woman who took over the complete property of her husband after the death of the husband. The husband was having a mother, was having sisters, was having brothers. She didn't give anything to those people. She took the whole property herself. This is wrong. A wife deserves, if there are no children, she deserves 1/4. That's it. The remaining 3/4 should go to the other members of the family. She cannot keep it for herself. But this woman, out of ignorance, she did what? She took the whole property. And then she called me that I feel guilty now. This is wrong, And if she feels guilty, she have to pay those people the rights. Give them the rights. Keep 1/4 for yourself. And it becomes very complicated. You take the money and you consume it. How can you pay them the rights now? You are questionable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So in peace, the father die and the mother she didn't want to keep the children and they are in need. For example, they are in need.
Yeah. The mother didn't give the children. And the children, in case they were underage, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, the mother will become the in charge. She'll keep the whole property with herself, and it is lawful for her to spend on the children from that property.
No,
They are grown up,
yeah.
then it's not her right to keep the property. She is mistaken. She is not having any legal right to take the money of the grown up ones.
She said, I reserve the money when I will die, just take all.
That's wrong. That's wrong. She cannot keep the money. This is like confiscating somebody's property. That's wrong.
So is it similar for the land?
Yeah, the same thing goes with the land as well. The land should be divided. Normally, in cases where the heirs, the children, they fight upon the land. If somebody says, I want my part to be there. I want my part from the land. The others say, no, I don't want my part. I want to sell it and get some money out of it. In such cases, in complicated cases where there is no reconciliation between the heirs, the judge will take the land and he will sell the land. He will sell the land in any good cost, and then he will divide the money between the heirs. This is what they do practically.
So is it a must that when a person dies, you to distribute.
Yeah.
Or you wait, suppose a person has 8 children, half of them are grown up,
Yeah.
married, settled, and half are still underage.
Yeah.
So in our country, they say that wait till those are also of age and then distribute.
But they don't do it in that way. They don't say that the whole property will be kept safe. No, they do what in a case as you mentioned, where some members are grown up and some members are still young to get the money. The court, it keeps the shares of those who are underage with itself. And when these people grow up, it will give them checks to take their property. And in some cases, they assign a wasi, a guardian, that the guardian will keep the property, and the guardian will be asked afterwards. After 10 years, he will be questionable. He will be brought to the court, and he will be asked about these matters. And even if the guardian takes the property and nobody asked him, definitely Allah will ask him the day of judgment.
So he said no.
Maybe there are some problems.
So no problem. You say when everyone will get together, we will distribute. When everyone goes, they are like talking, and then say it's okay, we'll do it later.
Okay. So if there is a common consent between the heirs that this thing could be delayed, that's fine. It is their right which they are delaying.
So
In
no
case there was a fight, then only the judge will come in and he will divide the thing in his own way, according to the laws which he follows, and he will sell the thing, he will interfere.
So
And as long as there is no problem, everybody is peaceful and
So but then the person who died won't be punished for that. He didn't write it.
no, a person is not responsible for these things after his death. The property which he left is a charity for his children. It's a sadaqah. He is rewarded for that thing. If the children they fought on that matter, it is the mistake of the children.
So the point is that the will, writing notes about advice.
Yeah.
So you could have
On the will.
yeah, writing those other things in the will,
Yeah.
not about property.
Yeah. The advisors in the moral advisors. Yeah. Yeah, it becomes very necessary in some cases, especially if you feel that there are weak people in your family who may make some mistakes after your death, or who are not good Muslims, for example. Let's say, for example, a person was married to a woman who is having a weak personality, let's say, that she will start crying and shouting after the death of the man. He feels like that. He should advise his wife that if I die, don't cry loudly, don't shout, don't shave your. In the Jahiliyyah, some women used to shave their head. So if a person knew this in his tribe, in his family, he should advise on these matters, especially in those cultural areas where people, are more likely to follow the culture and the traditions more than following the Islamic laws. And if those people, they didn't follow the culture, people will blame them. So if you are in such a, there are people who make the ceremony of 40 days, the ceremony of 11th day, they do different things, If you are from that culture, write in your will that I don't want this thing to happen with me. If you set that thing in your will, you are not responsible for that. You did what's there in your side, what was required from you. One of the companions says that there was a companion, one of the Sahaba of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who, when he was close to his death, he lost his consciousness, and his wife thought that the man died. So she started shouting. That was the culture there in her tribe. She started shouting and shouting loudly. And after a while, the man woke up. So she became quiet. But he said something. He said, whenever you were shouting and saying something evil, something wrong, there was an angel who was coming and pushing me and saying, is this what you are like? Is it true what she's saying about you? She was praising and shouting and praising the man. That's known as niyaha. That's haram. You praise the man that this man was like a mountain, this man was so kind, this man was this and that. So that's niyaha. They cry and they shout. And if, in the Jahiliyyah, if there's no one to make niyaha, no one to shout, they will hire someone from some other place, come and shout on this man who died. So the Prophet ﷺ said, this is haram. That a man is being punished in his grave for this thing, for this shouting. Don't shout. Make some dua for him. Ask maghfirah for the man. So if there are traditions and cultural things which people follow in your place, And you have to advise them on this matter. Sheikh al-Albani, before his death, he wrote in his, will that do not delay my janazah. Because he knew the people there, they delay the janazah. They wait for 2 days that someone will come from America, someone will come from England, someone will come from Pakistan, so wait for them. He said, no, don't. That's wrong. That's against the sunnah. The sunnah is to bury the man as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Don't delay him. All these things are wrong. Should not be carried to another country, except if there was a need. And you know what happens when they carry a person to another country? You know what do they do with him? They open his body, they pull out his guts, they put some chemicals in his body, they wrap the body with some chemical clothes. And what is this? Nobody is having the right to, or even to look to the body of the man. How can they do these things? And then they say, we are transferring the man to his father's land. What is this? This is haram.
So, in our case, we are not from all of us. We should write this right and all say to our close family, don't do this if we are dying just barriers here for once. We should make a will.
Yeah, make a will if you feel that your family, they have the culture of sending the dead bodies back to country, then write in your will that don't send me anywhere. I lived here, I want to be buried here. And alhamdulillah, here in UAE, they give you the right to be buried here. Even if you are non-Muslim, you want to burn the dead body like the Hindus, there's a place in Dubai where you can burn the bodies. Just pay them 2,000 dirhams and they'll give you the permission, like maybe 1,000 dirhams, they'll give you the permission, you can burn the body. So if they are around the Hindus, will they not allow the Muslims? So you have to mention these things in there. You don't pay for the graves, the Muslims don't pay. But the Hindus and others who have different, customs which they do, for that thing they have to pay. A person keeps paying, till his death. Even after his death, he have to pay something. In page 17, the book speaks about the Sharia law on inheritance, on learning inheritance, means the ruling on learning inheritance. The ruling on learning inheritance is that it is fard kifaya. Fard kifaya means it is obligatory on the whole community. In the community, among the Muslims, there should be some people who learned the laws of inheritance. If nobody learned the laws of inheritance in the whole community, then everybody is a sinner. If there's you
cannot say such things.
Yeah, in these matters you can speak. You can speak to those who respect you.
It's 9 years now, my father left, and
Yeah.
but they are not ready for that. He was from the country. He
Yeah.
was very successful.
Okay.
But sir, they are still not when they give properties and mother will give properties according to our wish.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is for this. That
These are the traditions of those places. They didn't take the case to a scholar because they don't want to do it. Yeah. So you cannot force the people. They know actually. Everybody knows that there is a law, according to which they think should be distributed, but they don't want to do it. They love the wealth more than the love for Allah and His commands and His orders. So these are the ones who have to pay in Akhirah. There was a man whose name was Sa'd ibn Rabi'a. Sa'd ibn Rabi'a, who was the brother, or whose brother survived after him. Sa'd ibn Rabi', he died in the battle of Uhud. There were 12 wounds on his body. He was stabbed 12 different times in his body, and the man ended up dying. Before his death, he said to one of the Sahaba that make sure that no one is harming the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If any harm reaches the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you people will have no excuse in front of Allah. He's saying this before his death. He's concerned about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He died. The man died as shaheed. Was having 2 daughters and a wife. The uncle did what? He took the whole property and he didn't give the daughters anything. Because this was the tradition. This was the traditions which they learned from their forefathers. And the verses of inheritance were not revealed at that time. The verses of inheritance were not revealed. The mother of these two daughters, or the wife of Sa'd ibn Rabi'ah, she came to the Messenger ﷺ saying, O Messenger of Allah, the father of these girls died with you in the battle of Uhud. And the property which was for them, which belongs to them, which they need actually to get married, is taken by the uncle. The Prophet ﷺ said we have to wait for a while. He was awaited. Waiting for what? Waiting for the revelation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ لِلذَّكَرِ مثل حظ الأنثيين فإن كن نساء فوق اثنتين فلهن ثلثا ما ترك وإن كانت واحدة فلها النصف. So the verse of inheritance was revealed here. So the Messenger ﷺ ordered Sa'd ibn Rabi'ah's brother, the uncle of the daughters, to come. And he said to him that you have to give the daughters 2/3. And you have to give the mother 1/6. And whatever is left behind will belong to you. The remaining is for you because you are the closest male member. So this is the proper way actually. It is haram to divide the inheritance as you wish. This is what they were doing in Jahiliyyah. In Islam, if you will do the same thing, we are not doing anything good. We are following Jahiliyyah.
So, but my father is don't give away the property now that they take everything and ask you to leave.
Everybody is having his own, his share in the inheritance. Take your share. Why should you take other people's share? And someday the man he himself who took the share of others will die, to not continue with them. In dunya there are two things. It's either that the property will come to an end or that you will come to an end. Let's say that your property is an excellent property, it never breaks, it never finishes. But what about you? Would you survive forever? You will not survive forever. And in Jannah, it is the opposite. The property exists and the man will exist. It's the opposite. The other way around. Allahu Akbar. And there is a hadith which the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Prophet ﷺ actually predicted the situation in which we will be today. What does that hadith say? The hadith says عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أبا هريرة تعلموا الفرائض. This hadith says that Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه said, O Abu Hurairah, the Prophet ﷺ advised him saying, O Abu Hurairah, learn how to distribute the inheritance. تعلموا الفرائض. Faraiz is the laws of inheritance. Learn how to distribute the inheritance. وَعَلِّمُوهَا, and teach it to others as well. فَإِنَّهُ نِصْفُ الْعِلْمِ, because this is half of the knowledge. This is considered to be half knowledge. فَإِنَّهُ نِصْفُ الْعِلْمِ وَهُوَ يُنْسَى, and it will be forgotten by the people. The laws of inheritance is considered to be half of knowledge. And وَهُوَ يُنْسَى means that it will be forgotten. People will forget the laws of inheritance in some time. وَهُوَ أَوَّلُ شَيْءٍ يُنْزَعُ مِنْ أُمَّتِي, and this will be the first thing to be snatched away from my nation. The laws of inheritance. So you may find many people who don't know anything and they are not bothered. They divide the inheritance, they share as they want themselves. I remember that before 4 years, there was a man who used to live here close to Preston University, and he used to make adhan here in some mosques here in Naimiyah. The man was having 2 wives, a young wife and an old wife. When the man died, the children of the old wife, they took the whole property, they took the whole house, and the young wife was kicked out of the house. She was not given anything. She with her children. So this is haram. This is not the proper way. This is not the Islamic way. She should have her right in the property. If a person is having more than one wife, the share of the wife will be distributed on those wives. If the wives, they together, because they are children, they deserve 1/8. 1/8 will be divided into two parts and be given to those two wives. This is how it should go. If the man is having children from both the sides, then both the children will equally share the inheritance. You cannot kick the other children of the man that they are not your real brothers. You have no right to do that. But this is how many people do actually. This is how life looks today, or life goes today. Something for which the students here should fight strongly in order to reform the situation from which the Muslims are suffering. Okay, let's come to another matter, the Quranic ayahs. And amazingly, the Quranic ayahs, those who are mentioned in the Quran, are basically 12. There are 12 people who are mentioned in the Quran. Okay? And from these, there are 9 people who are mentioned in the Quran. The Quranic ayahs are 9. There are 9 people who are mentioned in the Quran. From these 9, 6 are female, and only 3 are males. Imagine. So the females are being clearly mentioned. People say that the females, they are not being given, the women are not being given the rights in Islam. This is because they didn't study Islam properly. From the 9 people who are mentioned in the Quran, 6 are women. Like whom? Like the mother. The mother is mentioned in the Quran. The wife is mentioned in the Quran. The daughter is mentioned in the Quran. The full sister is mentioned in the Quran. And the half sister is mentioned in the Quran. And the maternal sister is mentioned in the Quran. All these people are mentioned in the Quran.
So why the men are not
Because men are asabat. No, they get the remaining. What's left behind, it will go to those male members who are not mentioned. In case the male members who are mentioned are not there. There are male members who are mentioned. If these male members are not there, then the other male members will take the remaining things. They are asab. There's a chapter about asabat. We speak about the male members who are not mentioned. How do they take the share from the inheritance? The male members who are mentioned are the father, the children, and the uterine brothers. The uterine brothers are the brothers from the mother's side. The brothers from the mother's side, or the sisters from the mother's side, were not even dreaming in Jahiliyyah before Islam. Were not even dreaming to get something from the inheritance. But Islam, subhanallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, kept everything in consideration and made a special law, an amazing law, laws of inheritance. If you will finish the whole thing, you will see the beauty of the laws of inheritance and how complicated it is, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala easily, in an easy way, in 3 verses in Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned all these laws. There is a matter which I would like to discuss after the matter of the Quranic ayahs, is that a doubt which is made by some people that the females, they get lesser than the males. Islamically, how do we justify this thing? How can we justify this thing?
Because the male has to take care of the female.
Because the male have to carry the expenses. Let's say in the case of brothers and sisters, the brothers will get the double of the share of the sisters, isn't it? But the sisters are not required to spend a single penny. The one who is required to pay the bills are the brothers. The one who are required to pay for everything, all the requirements of the life, are the brothers. So it is like a meat with lots of bones in it. And the daughters are getting boneless meat. It's more interesting, they can do whatever they want to do with it. So when you see the whole picture, you will like the thing. But when you see it from an angle or the partial image of the picture, then you dislike it. And this is true with anything which you don't see properly. Yeah.
So, when sisters are married and husband dies or divorces her, in that case, what are her rights on her father or brother?
Yeah. In the first place, the husband is required to carry the expenses. If the husband is not there, the father. If the father is not there, then comes the brothers. If they,
So must on them.
yeah, it's must on them. If she was having children, then the children have to carry the expenses of the mother. Have to. It's obligatory on them. Yeah. If they are small, they themselves need someone to take care of. In case they are grown up, it's obligatory on them to find the needs of the mother. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 233 if I'm not mistaken, وَعَلَى الْوَارِثِ مِثْلُ ذَلِكَ, that the person who inherits have to carry the expenses. If you inherit a man, if that man was in a problem, you have to carry the expenses. Let's say that your father, for example, he's out of money, he's suffering from some crisis. If he dies, who will inherit him? The children, isn't it? Now it means that the children, because they will inherit the man, they have to help him. They have to find the expenses for him. So this is something which is clearly mentioned in the Quran. And by the way, there are cases where the female gets more than the males. There are many cases in which the females, they get more than the males. Now, for example, let me give you an easy example. If a man dies, leaving behind him a father and a mother. Okay? Father, mother. And two daughters. Two daughters. Father, mother and two daughters. How will the property of the man be distributed? Two daughters, how much they will deserve?
Yeah.
2/3. Two daughters will deserve 2/3. For the daughters, the principle says, if there's one daughter, half of the property. More than one daughter, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 2/3. So two daughters will deserve 2/3. What is the share of the father? 1/6. What is the share of the mother? 1/6. The daughters, they received how much? 2/3. And the father received 1/6. That shows that the female are getting more than the males. So it's not always that the female get lesser and they keep crying and this. No, it's not like that. You have to study the whole thing, and then you will discover that there are many cases. In some cases, the males are excluded completely. They don't get anything. Why they don't get anything? Because those who are there, they deserved everything. The heirs who are there, the female and others who are there, they took the whole property. There's nothing remaining for them. Like if there was an uncle, for example, or a cousin, or a far away someone who's having a cousin's brother, let's say maternal brother, who are far away, but they are male members. If the people who are close to the one who deceased, they consume the whole property, those male members will be excluded, nothing for them. In the Quran you may find many verses, especially there are in Surah An-Nisa, there are 3 specific verses which speaks about the laws of inheritance. Verse number 11, verse number 12, verse number 176 in Surah An-Nisa. These are 3 lengthy verses, you can call them lengthy verses because it's a bit detailed. 3 verses in Surah An-Nisa which clearly speaks about, which solely, exclusively speaks about laws of inheritance. Yet there are other verses as well in different surahs which indirectly speaks about laws of inheritance. You may benefit from them, like the verse in Surah An-Nisa, in Surah Al-Ahzab, وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ. The close relatives, they are having better rights on each other. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should say this? Because in Jahiliyyah, they used to make a contract, a friendship, and they say that based on this friendship contract which is between us, they used to call it as wala, that this friendship contract we can inherit each other. So my property will be for you, you are my friend, and your property will be for me. And the relatives, nothing for them, forget about them. This was a friendship contract, a wala contract, which was considered as invalid in the verse of Surah Al-Ahzab where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ. That the family members, the relatives, they are having better rights on each other. So no more friendship contracts. Yeah.
Say, wala, 1/3 part goes to wala.
1/3 could be. Yeah, they will could go for the friendship contract. It could be. That's possible.
So the verses in Surah Nisa, Baqarah,
The verses.
yeah.
Surah An-Nisa.
Nisa. All
Yeah, all these
All
3
Nisa.
verses, yeah, from Nisa. 11, 12 and 176 are from Surah An-Nisa. Yeah.
So is there any verse that says that distributed, like bury the dead soon as he dies. So is there any such sentence that clearly says that you must?
That's a hadith actually. No, you don't have a verse related to this, but you have a hadith.
So when they start all these verses and Surah Nisa and so they don't say that the man dies, like those 3 points you gave us, burying him,
Yeah.
the will and all that. Doesn't come to God.
The matter of carrying the expenses of janazah, it comes from the practice of the Prophet ﷺ. That was the first thing that they used to do. That was a common practice actually. The matter of the debts, the loans, because a man is accountable in his grave. That's why you have to pay the loans. Yeah, and in the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala spoke about the dayn, that min ba'di wasiyatin yusa biha aw dayn, that before executing before dividing the inheritance, you have to make sure of wasiyah and dayn, the will and the loan. This is there in the Quran, Surah An-Nisa. Min ba'di wasiyatin yusa, verse number 12 is there. Min ba'di wasiyatin yusa, that the inheritance should be distributed only after the wasiyah and after the dayn.
So can the will, the nikah,
Yeah.
we do
Hmm?
the nikah of the,
Yeah.
what do you call it? The certificate, what do you
The contract.
write?
Yeah, the contract.
So if there are any problems, like can the wali add anything to it after?
After the contract is done, nobody can add anything to it. Yeah, it's done for us. The spouses, with mutual consent, they can add something to the contract, but one side cannot do anything.
But when they come for any decision
Yeah,
to keep up the marriage instead of they can come to
with mutual consent from both the sides. If someone is coming from the female side, there should be someone from the male side as well. Both together, if they reach to a conclusion, that could be added to the contract.
So, there is any specific form of wasiyah, of writing wasiyah?
Yeah, there are some specific forms of writing wasiyah. Some forms which are coming from the Sahaba, like they start with Alhamdulillah, and I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. I believe in Allah and His messengers, and Isa was the word of Allah. There's some specific way, and then you advise them to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أوصيكم بتقوى الله والسمع والطاعة. And it says that, and to mention that verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, ووصى بها إبراهيم بنيه ويعقوب يا بني إن الله اصطفى لكم الدين فلا تموتن إلا وأنتم. That's the recommended way actually, but it's not necessary to follow that way. You can make your own. Just start with Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah and write down your points. You can do that as well.
So we should do it in the court.
You have to, you can do it in the court, and you can also do it, in a formal, informal manner, by having 2 witnesses. You should have 2 witnesses, so that they don't fight. If there are no witnesses, there is no proof, that then nobody will accept it. It will be for you only.
So, in case the witnesses is the family itself, the
Yeah.
daughters, they
Yeah.
are sitting.
That's sufficient.
And, one of the daughters, she is writing, and the father, he's in the last moment of his life, and he said to his daughter, just write this line, and she is writing.
Yeah.
Then the older brother, he said, no, you are right.
Yeah. Actually, in these matters, the people who will inherit, they themselves should not be taken as witnesses. Bring some outsiders who have no interest in this, who will not gain or lose anything from this matter. So that will be better. So, because normally on the will, they fight actually, that this will is not authentic, and if there is no witnesses on that, then nobody can force that will. So the sources of Islamic law, of inheritance. There are many sources for the Islamic law of inheritance. The first source is the Quran itself. There are 35. In this book you will find 35 different verses in the Quran which have either direct or indirect indications in them in the matters of inheritance. And there are many hadith coming from different Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim. And also you have Quran as a source, you have hadith as a source, and also the practices of the companions. There are many cases which were solved by Abdullah bin Mas'ud. It is famous that Abdullah bin Mas'ud solved this issue. There are cases which were solved by Abu Bakr. Those cases are attributed to Abu Bakr. There are cases which were solved by Umar bin Khattab, like Al-Himariya and Umariyatain. There are many cases which were solved by Umar bin Khattab. We'll come to those cases inshallah. They're very interesting cases. And you have also Ibn Abbas and Zayd bin Thabit. Ibn Abbas and Zayd bin Thabit, they sometimes differ on some issues of inheritance. And also there are cases which are based on qiyas. Like the son of the son is considered like a son. The father of the father is considered as a father. The mother of the mother is considered like a mother. So these laws are coming from where? These laws are coming from qiyas. So you have Quran, Sunnah, practices of the companions, the fatwa of the companions, from where you are deducing these laws, and you have also qiyas from where you are deducing the laws of inheritance.
So if the foreign mother feeds
Yeah.
and become a foster mother, in that case, do they deserve something?
The fosters mothers will not deserve anything. Yeah. The foster relation do not create any right, any financial right. So
Sir, they can become in one will.
the will could be there. Will could be for any person. Anybody who is not taking any share in the inheritance can have something from the will. That's possible. Okay, now we'll speak about the causes of inheritance. There are three causes which are mentioned by the fuqaha, by the scholars of fiqh, which are considered to be the causes of inheritance. Means there are three things which qualifies a person to have a share in inheritance. Three things. Which are these three things? The first is nikah, marriage contract. If there was a marriage contract, those who are involved in that marriage contract, means the spouses, they are qualified to inherit each other. So the first cause from the causes of inheritance is nikah. The second cause is blood relation. Those who are having blood relation with each other are the ones who are qualified to inherit each other. So it's nikah and nasab. Nasab means blood relation. The third cause which may cause a person, qualify a person to inherit, is wala. Wala means what? Wala means the person who freed a slave, you become his wali, he becomes your mawla. That's a relation. When a person frees a slave, and that slave, after freedom, he gains some property. After that, the man is not having, after gaining some property, he is not having any of his relatives there. To whom the property will go? To the one who freed him. That's the relation of wala. This is mawla al-itaqa, they call it. So there are three causes for inheritance: marriage, blood relation, and the freeing a slave. The relation which is created after freeing a slave, which is known as the relation of wala, that is a relation which qualifies a person to inherit the man or the freed slave. To inherit the freed slave, or to inherit from the freed slave.
The prince he can inherit his
No,
master or the
no. This doesn't go in that way. The inheritance is only from the top and not from the
The
bottom.
master
Yeah.
take from
They say that inheritance is only from the top, means from the master. The master will inherit. But if the master dies, the slave will not get any, the freed slave will not get any share. Yeah. He should be happy that his master freed him. So how many causes do we have? Three causes. They nikah, nasab and wala. And that's why the author of Rahbiya is an excellent book of laws of inheritance, but the laws are in rhyming lines of poetry. So he says, in beautiful lines, أسباب ميراث الورى ثلاثة كل يفيد ربه الوراثة وهي نكاح وولاء ونسب ما بعدهن للمواريث من سبب. So nikah, wala, nasab. أسباب ميراث الورى ثلاثة وهي نكاح وولاء ونسب ما بعدهن للمواريث من سبب. So three things are there. These three things are considered to be the causes of inheritance.
Sir, while divorcing,
Yeah.
does everyone have
Yeah, tell me.
if a man is divorcing his wife,
Yes.
does she get inheritance or just
In case of divorce, she will only deserve the man, not mother. In the case of death, if she was not divorced, then she will deserve, even if she is in iddah, if the divorce was raj'i and she was in iddah, she will still deserve the mahar. She will still deserve the inheritance.
so case of one divorce, two divorce, three divorce, in that situation, how
In the case of one divorce and two divorces, she may inherit as long as she is within the time period of iddah. If the iddah finished and the man didn't bring her back to his marriage, then she will not deserve anything.
So, I have a doubt that there is a mazhab where only two time talaq is said in the divorce system. Is there anything like that, or it has to be mentioned three times?
No, it could be mentioned once, and that will become like a raj'i. Raj'i means revocable. You can bring a wife back. You can divorce twice and it will still revocable. You can bring the wife. And you can divorce thrice, and that's when a person cannot bring the wife back, except after a long procedure. Even in the raj'i talaq, when a person makes one talaq, if the iddah finishes, if the waiting period finishes, and the man have no right to bring back his wife. No right. He have the right to bring back the wife as long as she is within the waiting period. After the waiting period, that right is taken away from her.
And so, if the third one is said after a long period, still it is counted 1, 2, 3.
The third,
Yeah.
if three,
There were two already revocable divorce.
yeah,
The third one is said to last a long time.
yeah.
Do you
They still count. They still count. It is not necessary for the man to give all the three divorces in one time. He give one in the first year, the second in the second year, the third in the third. It will be considered as three. That will be counted as the third divorce.
So if he said it once and he didn't bring her back 3 months, so
Yeah, he's not having a right to bring her back anymore. But in case they will to get each other again, a new contract, new mahar, new witnesses, new guardian, everything, as if they are new people, then they can do it.
that's only after the first and second revocable
Yeah.
divorce.
So in order to prevent themselves from all these new things, the husband can bring back his wife, without any more additional charges, if it was within the prescribed period. Okay, there are cases in which a person may have two relations. He may inherit in two different ways. Now, we said that the causes of inheritance are three, isn't it? Nikah, wala, nasab. Nikah, nasab and wala. Nikah means marriage, marital relation. Nasab means the blood relation. There could be a marital relation and a blood relation as well between the spouses. So if that happens, then they will inherit each other in two different ways. Like a cousins getting married, So if they, for example, the woman dies, So the man will deserve half of the inheritance because he's the husband, isn't it? He's also the cousin of the woman. So the other half will come back again to him because he's the cousin.
So cousins don't get anything.
Cousins,
Don't deserve inheritance.
they don't deserve inheritance if the brothers were there, the real brothers, or the children, or the father. Then the cousins. Next class will start.